Good day, everybody. I'm Richard Villars, Vice President for Data Center and Cloud at IDC. And that role is particularly interesting these days, being at that intersection of data center and the research around how companies are leveraging their data center environments, and obviously all the innovation that is now occurring in the cloud and what's happening in the world of public cloud. What I want to talk to you about today is how we really see over the next 2-3 years a change in this entire discussion, a growing connection between these two environments, and that the value of that and getting more value out of your cloud investments by being able to leverage that in on-premises use cases, as well as in the large shared public cloud is a big part of how companies are going to innovate in the coming years. So to start this conversation, first thing IDC does is we always want to talk about what's driving the business decisions that our companies are making. What are the business goals that are affecting how they want to invest in technology and where they want to invest in technology? And as you can see here, this is a survey that we conducted in 2019 and asking what were their top business goals for tech investment. So it was a global survey of leading IT and line of business leaders around the world. And you can see a clear message here around innovating, delivering new products, creating new digital products, new digital services, investing in research and development, improving their business relationships, their marketing relationships, as well as how effectively their workforce gets its job done. You can summarize all of these come down to innovation. That right now, the priority for organizations, for enterprises, is to be more innovative in their business processes and leveraging technology to allow them to be more innovative. Without a doubt, today, cloud and spending on public cloud services, infrastructure, platform as a services is one of the key places where companies are investing in technology to drive all that innovation we're talking about. And as IDC research has shown, we've been tracking spending by enterprises, organizations around the world on infrastructure as a service, platform as a service offerings, as well as their investment in their own IT assets, hardware and supporting software that's in their data centers. You can see a clear signal here that more and more of the spending is being driven by investments in cloud, investment of innovative resources and capabilities that they get in a cloud environment. And this is something we expect to see continuing in an ongoing basis for certainly the next 4 to 5 years and well beyond. So this is the starting point of the conversation. But we also recognize in this new environment, one of the top challenges for the next 2-3 years is that linkage, or in many cases, the lack of linkages between companies' investments in their cloud environments and in what they're investing on resources, on applications, in their own data centers or in co-location facilities. And in a similar survey that IDC did of leading IT teams around their own data centers and how they're operating those environments and what are the key challenges that they face in their own data centers, it's a clear message here is that they're very busy doing things that aren't tied to innovation. They're doing things that are tied to either trying to make legacy and new systems coordinate, trying to keep older systems just up and running and operating, or they're struggling to deal with the rapid expansion, the things that drove them to look more at public cloud because they need to do things faster and more quickly and more visibly. And lastly, they do stress increasingly that their inability to understand the cost inside their own facilities is a big challenge that they increasingly are sensitive to. So one of the messages that we come back is absolutely in this new world, the evolving cloud landscape that is part of companies' business strategy and how they're going to drive their innovation. Without a doubt, public cloud is playing a critical role. It's where companies expect to come to leverage new services, to optimize their uses of resources to get the maximum return on those resources. And in reality, it turns out that they can actually apply better and more consistent governance of all their resources, of their data, of their applications, of their security profiles in a public environment. But this puts into contrast what we've seen and what companies are dealing with within their own data centers. And as you can, in the last 5 years, the main focus for many companies in the corporate data center has been the idea of the private cloud. I'm going to build my enterprise private cloud in my organization. In our research, our conversations with leading IT teams, with IT executives and operations teams, is that this is not a particularly satisfying investment for many of those organizations compared to what they've been getting out of their public cloud environments. That they're struggling to sort of take advantage of all the things that they see in public cloud, but their existing private clouds really can't deliver the same kinds of advantages that we just talked about. And for us, this is one of the key challenges that companies are going to face in the next few years, but it's also where we see there's great opportunity for investing in new solutions. If you invest in the right kind of cloud environments, you can actually attack these issues and get a lot of benefits out of it. So let's take a little time and dig into what we mean by that. What makes private cloud today so challenging? And what do we see changing that's going to make a new version of what's happening in on-premises with cloud an important part of a corporate strategy going forward? So putting it out pretty straightforward, in the corporate data center, the biggest problems that we see consistently with private cloud investments and what people have done is inconsistency. Because while any individual cloud deployment may meet its goals, it may meet its requirements, but everyone's unique, everyone's different, whether it's inside the same organization, whether that's in sister organizations, even sometimes within different groups, different parts of the same company have different private clouds. None of them are the same in terms of underlying technology, in terms of capabilities and services. And even those who've looked to hosted private clouds, having someone else manage it for them, run into this same consistency problem. And this consistency causes a lot of problems for companies. It makes management much more complex. It makes it also, it limits the interest of developers, of innovators in the business to want to build new services on those environments because they can't replicate them. They can't scale them easily. And so it's not really been a strong platform for innovation in a corporation. One of the things that IDC sees happening in the next, really now and over the next few years, is a shift in many companies thinking from this idea of the enterprise private cloud to what we talk about as what we call a consistent, dedicated cloud resource. So it is dedicated resources in a company's data centers, in a facility near that corporation, but it's not a private cloud. It's basically a dedicated instance of an existing scalable cloud environment where you have access to the same types of services, whether that's infrastructure services or platform and data services across your public environment as well as your dedicated environment. And we look at solutions like Amazon's Outpost, AWS Outpost. Absolutely, this is starting to attack and address that need. What's the payoffs of this approach? What are the benefits? Well, first, you do get to attack the issues of latency, availability, compliance requirements around data sovereignty that maybe have limited your use of cloud for certain applications and certain use cases. But you also get that standardization. You get that confidence now that it's easier to manage those assets, those services, those resources. And also now it's a much more attractive platform for innovation. For somebody who wants to develop a new service, they have the confidence now that their investments they've made in developing in a cloud native environment can be applied in their shared pool, but also now in their dedicated pool in a common, consistent way. This for us is one of the big changes that this new model can bring to an organization. But there's more to this conversation than just technology or a different bundle of technology or a different bundle of services. A lot of the problems with private cloud today have also been about delivery, how companies have had to deploy and get those assets into their facilities. So if you think about private cloud environments, you design your initial scope, but if you need to add capacity, if you need to add resources, that can often take a great deal of time. It requires redefining or re-architecting whole parts of the environment. By the way, say a year in, some new technology, some new processor, some new availability service comes along. Integrating that into the existing private cloud can take months or even years. So if you don't get that consistency again, and to be frank, this way of purchasing, deploying resources doesn't align with how traditionally companies have thought about buying their hardware, buying their software, doing their service contracts. And so you get this incompatibility that it's hard again to manage that acquisition process. One of the main changes that we see that have come along with these new types of dedicated offerings, solutions like Outpost, are that they also focus on the issue of deployment, on the idea of flexible deployment, where I can very rapidly bring in the initial systems. I can very rapidly expand capacity selectively where I need to, different types of compute, different types of storage. I can do this on an incremental basis that aligns better to it. Another great benefit is these are fully managed, and they are, and we think it's one of the most valuable things, they're continually enhanced. These systems actually improve in terms of performance and reliability and flexibility as you're using them over the 1, 2, 3, 4 years that they may be in place. Another huge benefit to IT organizations is this is eliminating the whole patch, upgrade, migration challenge. These systems are designed to be very easy to move in, keep continuously updated, continuously upgraded, and as technology evolves and expands, I can replace solutions without having to do long migrations that require a lot of support, a lot of time, a lot of downtime. Now, the one message we try and give back to companies with this flexible deployment, people often want to align it with OpEx. Oh, I'm going from CapEx to OpEx. And certainly the way you do these solutions, a solution like Outpost, a subscription model, it certainly has the ability, you can do that. But what it's really about, this payoff for the IT organization and for the business, is what you're really doing is that ability to rapidly expand or contract or provide resources and move them where you need them, means that you can actually align your technology investment much more effectively with your business expansion and your business services. And that's a huge payoff that it's something that IT organizations are more and more pressured to do in this innovative environment. So there's a great connection there. So we think about this evolving landscape. We now see a world over the next 2-3 years where organizations continue their leveraging of public cloud, but now they can leverage this idea of consistent design, flexible deployment, a option for low latency when they need it in a corporate data center. But now they have it more in a consistent way that works across those environments. And this is an important first step that we see playing out in many companies over the next year or 2 years. But it's true from IDC's standpoint, though, if you limit your thinking to just these two parts of the conversation, you're missing what's probably the most important area for innovation in the coming years. There's something missing. And that what's missing, if we want to think about it, is right now when we think about innovation and what we thought about innovation for the last 5 years, it's all been tied into all those endpoints out there, smart devices, tablets, phones, smarter vehicles, autonomous operations in manufacturing, individuals out there. And as our own research shows, within a few years, yes, there are 31 billion of these devices, of these things out in the world. And clearly much of the innovation, how I get value out of those resources, has been tied into connecting them to those cloud-based resources that we've been using to date. And that's great. And when we add up in the world, the total number of central cloud data centers and corporate data centers, about 39,000 of those out in the world, supporting people in different regions, different geographies. And certainly today, you can look at what's out there. There's been a lot of innovation, a lot of great new services. But when IDC talks to companies about where's the next wave of innovation, it starts focusing on what I'm doing in a specific location. What am I doing in my factory to leverage things like machine vision to change a manufacturing process? What am I doing in a hospital to start leveraging more analytics and diagnostics in the hospital to provide better outcomes, better patient care and health? What am I leveraging in an airport to provide better security or better aircraft maintenance? Or if I'm in a city, how am I leveraging emerging networks like 5G networks and all those solutions to deliver more autonomous services, smart city services, building management services in a geography? So for us, this is where innovation's happening. It's about where we do innovation where we live is more and more of the priority. And there are millions of such edge locations, not small little gateways or small little systems in like a branch bank. These are significant systems that you want to put in a hospital, in a factory, in an airport, where you need a significant amount of resources where you are, where you're operating in terms of compute, in terms of storage, in terms of data transformation and processing to do something interesting for your customers and for your business people. This is really the next part of the conversation that we need to deal with, and where companies want to take advantage of cloud to do something better and more effective. So this is the real story for us, is about using these new solutions to deliver cloud on premises and at the edge. And why that's so important is, and why that's very different than the existing private cloud conversations. Every private cloud that's been built today was designed with one goal in mind: to modernize my data center, to make an old data center that wasn't efficient, wasn't operating, let me run it better, let me run it more efficient, let me reduce my capital cost. And that's a very worthwhile goal to have in place, but it doesn't drive innovation. Innovation, which is what the business goal is about, give me a cloud environment that allows me to transform what I'm doing, where I work, where I live, where I play. It's about delivering new services in those locations. And we like to think of it as, we need to provide a local cloud in that location that's compatible with my public cloud environment. I can share data between it. I can leverage the same applications and resources and development environments. But I can now focus on using that as a platform for delivering new services in a location, in a city, in an airport, at a factory. And oh, by the way, a big change in this, and it's one of the most critical parts, is I can do it quickly in many different locations. So this isn't just about doing a one-off pilot project. This is about innovating in every factory in my portfolio. Or this is about delivering innovation in every warehouse that I operate. And by the way, doing it in a way that doesn't drive a massive expansion in IT management and operations costs. So for us, this is really where solutions like Outpost technologies, that's what they're really about, is providing a platform for this new type of service innovation. So this is this new cloud landscape. Public cloud, shared resources, gives me a global footprint. Dedicated clouds in my data center to improve what I'm doing there, but do it in a more cost-effective way. And now delivering these local clouds that allow me to build that cloud-to-edge service that deliver a frictionless asset management and consumption model for that. And oh, by the way, we think one of the biggest things, no-touch infrastructure, that I don't have to have a person on site managing every piece of hardware and technology. That's part of what I'm getting as part of this service and this solution. This is where, over the next year, 2 years, 3 years, really the companies that are going to lead in their industries, focusing on innovation, are going to drive to this kind of cloud model. And why this is so important is, when you hear a lot of people talk about hybrid cloud and what hybrid cloud's really about, this is a hybrid cloud strategy. What it means is, I can take advantage of common resources, common capabilities, common data sets, but I have the flexibility to deploy them in the location that gives me an optimal experience, an optimal cost model for each and every use case, doing it in a consistent and scalable way. This is the long-term direction of where cloud is heading, and where we think companies need to take advantage of cloud in order to do their business. So I sort of want to wrap up these comments here and go back to, I made that original point about what were the business drivers that influenced technology investments, and that they focused on innovation, new service creation, and other pieces. Well, when we look at these new local and dedicated cloud solutions, and if you think about it, it may include something like Outposts, but as we noted, this also needs to think about things that are tied into the 5G network. So think about solutions like Amazon, the new AWS Wavelength service, or that are targeted to support a specific community. So solutions like Amazon's Local Zones, they're all about providing that hybrid view and those capabilities, but do it in a way that allows me to capitalize on it everywhere where I'm operating and running my business. And this is what this really brings, is the benefits of adopting this solution and this type of approach is you do get to reduce that time to market for development and delivery of new applications. You do get to invest in those new capabilities that allow you to apply things like AI and machine learning to a business process to speed the time to outcome, to provide more real-time response and behavior, all critical parts of the story. A second key benefit is you're improving actually the quality of your existing applications by being able to leverage new technology, low latency systems, but in a way that aligns with your broader portfolio. You can now actually enhance both your cloud applications and your existing business applications, but do it in a way where the IT team actually gets more effective and more efficient, as opposed to being overwhelmed trying to integrate and connect different services together. And then the last benefit you're going to get from this is, as we like to say, having the confidence that you have a standard hybrid cloud platform gives you the confidence to propose, test, and scale innovation in your business, in your products, in your services in a low risk way. So we like to say you're reducing the risks of taking risks. And by leveraging local and dedicated cloud, you're reducing those risks anywhere and everywhere that you want to operate as a business. So those are the great benefits that we see by leveraging this type of solution. As in the case of any new technology, however, you do actually have to make decisions as a business to allow you to fully capitalize on those. And we would leave you with 3 suggestions on what are some of the critical things you need to do to fully take advantage of this on-premises cloud addition and extension to your cloud environment. So first of all is recognize you need to have a company-wide standard. We highlighted the importance of consistency. Consistency in the choice of platform, the portfolio of services and capabilities that your IT teams, your developers, your software partners are going to be using as well is a critical part of this. You need to make sure that everybody's leveraging that same consistent set of services, knows how to take full advantage of them in their own developments, in their own products, and their own management processes. The second thing is you actually do have to start establishing some specifications and processes that allow the IT teams to identify where they may want to start placing these assets. So it was easy when it was just about, do I put it in a public cloud or do I put it in my corporate data center? But now you're starting to say, should I be leveraging a service in the 5G phone network, leveraging something like Wavelength? Should I be placing assets in 100 different warehouses around the country? What are the rules and practices and policies in place to basically standardize how that's going to happen so that everybody knows what's it take to get these systems in, what are going to be the management and governance responsibilities that go with them, so that you have that confidence that you can quickly take advantage of it without adding a new layer of complexity to the environment. And then the last one is this all comes back to one of the key values of this type of solution, is that you are able to centrally control these resources. So you can centrally control all the monitoring of those physical assets. You can centrally control the flow and the evolution of the applications. You can centrally control the data, where it's located, where it's at, where it's secured, how it's secured. And you can begin to apply standardized governance processes to that. And for us, that's the biggest task here. This is a great opportunity to take advantage of this and extend the cloud environment. But we have to do it in a way that we ensure that we're getting consistency and security in the way we operate these resources and the way we leverage these resources. And only by doing that are you really going to take advantage of this full solution and drive innovation in your business by leveraging all the great new capabilities that come in this more dispersed, on-premises, shared cloud model. With that, I'll thank you all for your time, and I will hand it over to Rob.
Thank you, Richard. Hi, my name is Rob Chen. I'm the head of Infrastructure Solutions Product Marketing here at AWS. And in this portion of the webinar, I'm going to talk about how AWS Outposts aligns to the dedicated local cloud that Richard was talking about, and also talk a little bit about how our new services, AWS Wavelength and AWS Local Zones, aligns to the local clouds that Richard was talking about. So when we started first developing AWS Outposts, we spoke to many of our customers, and they told us that there were two main reasons why they still had applications that needed to remain on premises for the time being. The first of those applications were applications that required low latency. These were business critical applications that are sensitive to latency and variability in latency. And they're also applications that need to respond to events with extremely small millisecond latencies in order to ensure a smooth and predictable operations, provide a superior experience to end users, and deliver innovative and differentiated services to customers and clients. Some of these workloads include manufacturing automation, real-time patient diagnosis or medical imaging, content and media streaming, and also financial trading platforms. The second class of applications that customers told us need to remain on premises were applications that required processing of local data stores or to ensure that the data remain on premises for data integrity or for data governance reasons. The reason why data has become so important is that there has been an exponential increase in the data that is being generated by users and in devices. And data integrity is also a key concern in locations that are bandwidth constrained. You have data intensive workloads that collect and process hundreds of terabytes of data a day. Transmission of this large volume of data to the cloud can be really impossible or wasteful and expensive. So transmitting message or data streams over long distance internet connections can also lead to packet loss, resulting in data integrity problems. So customers told us that they want to process the data locally to respond to events in real time and to have better control of analyzing, backing up, and restoring this data. And they also wanted to be able to, importantly, leverage cloud services to apply AI/ML and analytics to data stored on premises for machine learning inference, data visualization, and insights. In addition to some of the application challenges, our customers also told us that there are a number of other challenges in terms of maintaining on-premises infrastructure. So in terms of infrastructure, our customers told us that it was challenging to have to work with multiple vendors to procure and manage infrastructure for multiple vendors, and that working with multiple vendors and procuring and installing infrastructure could often take many months to get infrastructure available and ready for them to build and deploy applications on. The other challenge with on-premises infrastructure that our customers told us about is that there's also a significant overhead in terms of having to patch and upgrade the infrastructure as new software releases come up or new firmware becomes available that needs to be patched and upgraded. There's also the challenge of maintaining application upgrade time cycles between the various hardware components. So managing the application updates and when you could make those updates was also challenging. Developers told us that their challenge with on-premises infrastructure often came with having to work with different services and different APIs to build an application that they need to deploy on-premise versus an application in the cloud. So not being able to use the same services, APIs, and tools meant that they needed to develop twice in order to deploy those applications for an on-premise purpose, and also being able to deploy that application in the cloud. So especially when the application was a hybrid architecture, this meant double the amount of work for developers in terms of having to code twice, develop it twice, and use different code deployment pipelines for their on-premise environment as well as their cloud environment. Now, from a business perspective, what our customers really told us, and Richard touched on this as well, is that they were not able to use cloud native services in their on-premises environments for their applications. So cloud native services such as containers, AI/ML, and big data analytics. These are a lot of the services that they found a lot of value in terms of being able to innovate and provide new services and differentiated services to their customers and clients. They were not able to do that in their on-premises environment. So IT infrastructure, developers, and business, these were some of the categories that, in addition to the low latency and local data processing applications, customers told us that they really wanted something on premises that was similar to what they were getting in the cloud. So just to sum that up, customers told us that they want consistency, and this is something that Richard stressed as well. They want consistency of experience across all their environments, whether that be in the cloud or on premises or at the edge, in their edge environments. Specifically, customers want the same reliable, secure, and high-performance infrastructure, so the actual physical infrastructure that their applications need to run on. And they also want the same operational consistency or experience. They don't want to have to patch and manage and update their infrastructure on premises when in the cloud, all of that is taken care of in the background for them. They also want to be able to develop with the same services and APIs so that they can build once and deploy anywhere. And in terms of managing those applications, they want the same management tools, they want the same automation tools, they want the same CI/CD pipelines that they use in the cloud, that they can to be able to also use that in their on-premises environments. And then lastly, speaking to the business aspect of it, they want the same pace of innovation that they're getting in the cloud in terms of new services, again, for machine learning inference, for big data analytics, for IoT, for containers. They want that same pace of innovation to be able to transform their applications on premises as they are able to in the cloud. So with that, let's talk a little bit more about Outposts and see how Outposts addresses some of the needs that Richard outlined and I also outlined in the above. So AWS Outposts brings AWS design infrastructure on premises. So that's the same infrastructure that is available in our AWS regions, in our availability zones. We bring that infrastructure to your on-premises location. And that infrastructure is fully managed, monitored, and operated by AWS, just like we manage, operate, and monitor our infrastructure in our AWS regions. So it's a fully managed service, in addition to being the same infrastructure that you are building and deploying your applications on in the AWS cloud. And as well, in terms of management and operations and the visibility that Richard was talking about, because it's the same AWS infrastructure, the same services, and the same operating model, you're able to manage your applications running on EC2 instances running in the AWS cloud, just the same as you would manage your applications running on EC2 instances on an AWS Outpost. So same infrastructure, same management and monitoring, and same operations. So let's take a look about, let's take a deeper look at the AWS Outpost Rack. So on the right here is a picture of an Outpost Rack. As you see, it's fully encaged, fully enclosed in its own cage. It's a standard 42U rack. It comes fully assembled, and our staff brings the Outpost Rack to your location. We unload it from the truck, and we move it to your data center and to the exact data center position that is required for your Outpost Rack. We plug it into the power and network, and we fully connect it to your local network and make sure everything's functioning and make sure that it's all ready to be, it's all ready for you to deploy instances and applications on that Outpost Rack. The Outpost Rack comes with centralized redundant power and also has redundancy in terms of top of rack switches that are redundant and power supplies that are redundant, as well as spare hosts in case any of the hosts fail. You have spare capacity to move your applications to those hot spare hosts. Now, just a little bit more details in terms of the physical specifications of the Outpost rack. Again, it's a 42U rack that's 80 inches tall, 24 inches wide, and 48 inches deep. It can accept 1, 10, 40, and 100 gig network uplink options. And then in the middle there, as you see, there's top of rack switch. So those are redundant switches to connect your local network, as well as in terms of power supply, we have redundant power supply, and the power supply requirements range from 5 kVA to 15 kVA. Outpost is currently GA. We announced GA in December of 2019. So Outpost is currently available in the United States, in Canada, in all EU countries, including Switzerland and Norway. It's available in Bahrain, and in Asia, it's available in Japan, the Republic of Korea, Hong Kong, Singapore, and also Australia. And then within each of those countries, you would connect your Outpost to a local AWS region. So this is the map of all the regions that currently support Outposts, and you can connect your Outpost to. So as I said earlier, Outpost is really suited to applications that require low latency or local data processing. So in about the past 14 months or so since we first announced Outposts in reInvent 2018, we've spoken with hundreds of customers in terms of their use cases for Outposts. And so as you see here, there's a number of applications or use cases for Outposts. Some of the ones that pop up have been real-time interactive applications, 3D modeling, again, data processing, as well as SCADA systems for manufacturing. There's also a lot of audio and video processing use cases, as well as inference and training at the edge, medical imaging, and also financial transaction processing. So how does Outpost address customer challenges? So Outpost address customer challenges, again, by simplifying IT infrastructure and how you manage and operate infrastructure on premises. It really transforms how customers think about Outposts. And you can think of Outposts really as bringing infrastructure as a service on premises. So, much like the dedicated enterprise cloud that Richard was talking about, what Outpost is doing is it's bringing, again, AWS infrastructure and services on premises. So you now have a consistent infrastructure as a service on premises model from your on-premises environments all the way to your cloud environments. And it's also bringing developer consistency to customers. So now that they can have the same APIs, the same services, the same code deployment tools on premises and the cloud, so they can really build once and deploy anywhere and not have to spend additional resources recoding or replatforming their applications for on-premises and for the cloud. And then the third one here in terms of addressing customer challenges is really accelerating that business pace of innovation. As we talked about earlier, customers have really seen the value and benefits of the cloud in terms of leveraging new technologies to develop innovative applications. And with Outposts, AWS brings that to customers on premises by allowing them to access the same innovative infrastructure and application services for their on-premises applications, just as they do for applications that they have migrated or built in the cloud. So now let's dive a little bit deeper in terms of the instances that Outposts support, as well as some of the services that are available on Outposts locally. So again, Outpost is built on the same EC2 instances and EBS volumes that are available to customers today in our AWS regions and availability zones. Outpost is currently available with M5 instances, which are our EC2 instances for general purposes applications. They're also available with C5 instances. So these are instances for compute-intensive workloads such as media transcoding, gaming servers, machine learning inference, and also HPC, high performance computing. Outposts also are available with R5 instances. These are memory intensive, instances with additional memory that are suitable for memory intensive applications such as databases, in-memory caches, and real-time data analytics. Outposts also are available with G4 instances. These are instances with accelerated GPUs, and they are applicable for machine learning inference, as well as used for rendering applications such as graphics workstations. And we also have i3 instances available on Outposts. Now, these are instances that support high I/O intensive applications such as NoSQL databases, in-memory or transactional databases, as well as distributed file systems. And then in terms of storage, we offer both local instance storage as well as EBS GP2 volumes. So these, in terms of EBS, all EBS volumes and snapshots on Outposts are fully encrypted by default, and any EBS snapshots will be stored using Amazon S3 in the region that is associated with your Outpost. EBS is offered in tiers of 2.7 terabytes, 11 terabytes, 33 terabytes, and 55 terabytes and above. Outposts support a number of services locally. They include, again, EC2, Amazon VPC for networking, RDS to run your database workloads, containers. We offer 2 container services available on Outposts, the Amazon Elastic Container Service, ECS, and also Amazon Elastic Kubernetes Service, EKS. And Amazon EMR, Elastic MapReduce, is also available for data processing and analytics. Amazon RDS is an important service for our customers. It's currently in preview now and will be generally available in Outposts later this year. RDS is an important service that many of our customers leverage to run their databases on AWS infrastructure without having to manage the underlying compute, storage, and networking. Another service that is important for our customers is S3 for object storage. S3 on AWS Outposts will also be coming in 2020 and will help customers address local data storage as well as data residency and compliance requirements. With Outposts, you also have the ability to use the same management tools and resources that are available in the cloud. So you can use EC2 auto scaling groups, AWS CloudFormation to deploy and run your workloads, CloudWatch to monitor your applications, and also CloudTrail, and also Elastic Beanstalk, Cloud9, and other AWS tools and services. So let me talk to you now about how Outpost works and how it connects to our AWS local regions. So with Outpost, you can seamlessly extend your VPC on premises by creating a subnet and associating with an Outpost just as you associate subnets with an availability zone in the cloud. The control plane for Outpost is in the public region, so you can access a wide range of AWS services locally on your Outpost or in the region through public endpoints or privately through VPN. Instances in the Outpost can securely talk to other instances in your VPC through private IP addresses. You can also use interface endpoints to access all regional services, all AWS regional services. such as DynamoDB or S3, SageMaker, or other services. You can access those services, again, publicly through public endpoints or privately through your VPC environment and using private link endpoints. To connect to your local network, you can connect to your local network via the Outpost top of rack switch. And then you can configure your virtual interfaces by mapping to your local VLANs using link aggregation control protocol. And then you can configure the new local gateway on the Outpost to route traffic to and from your local network using the virtual interfaces that you see on the network diagram here. So now that we've learned more about Outposts, I want to switch gears to talk about AWS Wavelength and AWS Local Zones. AWS Wavelength is a new service that we announced private beta at reInvent 2019. So AWS Wavelength is taking AWS infrastructure and services and placing those infrastructure and services at our telco partners' 5G network edge. So this is a new service which will provide AWS infrastructure and services for developers to deploy their 5G applications at telco's 5G network edge. And what this enables is really low latency, sub 10 millisecond latency for 5G devices or end users to connect to an application that's running at the 5G network edge. And this will enable new classes of applications and new use cases for customers to deploy innovative applications and services to their end users. In terms of 5G partners, we announced partnerships with Verizon, Vodafone Business in Europe, KDDI in Japan, as well as SK Telecom in South Korea. Another service that we announced is Local Zones, and Richard talked a little bit about this as well. So this is another service that brings local cloud to customers and users. AWS Local Zones is AWS infrastructure and services that are deployed in large metro centers. So what this does is it again lowers latency and also enables local data processing for our customers. So these are fully managed AWS zones, in this instance, local zones, that are available to our users in that region to deploy and run their applications. And again, be able to provide new innovative services and use cases for their customers because of the reduction in latency and also the ability for local data processing. So for both local zones and wavelengths, by distributing AWS services to the edge, customers are able to take advantage of the same infrastructure, the same services in locations where they need it to address use cases such as low latency and local data processing, but also come up with new innovative applications such as in-stadium gaming experiences, live streaming of video, as well as manufacturing automation. So a lot of new use cases will be enabled by AWS Wavelength and Local Zones by again distributing AWS services to the edge, but also enabling developers to develop applications using the same services and APIs that they're used to, and also bringing innovative cloud services to the edge of environments. So in summary, what AWS Outposts, Wavelengths, and Local Zones enables is that it enables new classes of applications that were traditionally dependent or hampered by the need for low latency and local data processing. So by bringing AWS infrastructure and services to on-premises environments, to metro centers, to local metro centers, and to the 5G network edge, it enables customers to deploy new classes of applications that before were not possible. It also allows customers to have that consistency of experience that I talked about, and also that Richard talked about. Customers want that consistency across the environments. And so with Outposts and Local Zones and Wavelength, customers can have that consistency across all their environments. And they also want the same operational model, in the sense that they don't want to have to procure, patch, and manage infrastructure in the ways that they've had to in the past. So with Outposts, Wavelengths, and Local Zones, a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of managing infrastructure, operating infrastructure, is removed from clients and is taken care of by AWS. And then lastly, this idea of innovation, right? Innovation can happen anywhere now. Innovation doesn't only have to happen in the cloud. Innovation can happen on premises. It can happen at the edge. It can happen in 5G networks, because the same cloud services that were available only in the cloud before is now available to customers in all these different environments where they need it. So with that, I want to thank you for attending this webinar, and now we are going to move on to Q&A.